Justin, Maryam, how are you doing, guys? Blockchain People Podcast, Verasity time. Guys, really happy to have you both here. Really excited after reading for like 4 hours last night about Veracity, about everything that you guys do. I have to say, I'm not too big on esports, and I'm sure that many people here listening to this are not too sure about what Veracity is and what you guys do. So I'll leave you up to you to explain it. So if you want to, let's open with Maryam and then we'll move on to Justin.
Hi, so I'm Maryam. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for Veracity. I joined in May. I come from now I'm going to age myself, 15 years in technologies, specifically in health technology, and the past about 3-4 years in blockchain. I was with Consensus before, and then Cardano, and here, and I've consulted on a bunch of projects as well. Veracity is definitely an interesting use case. And I think, what really excited me about the project was you see in a lot of blockchain projects, they seem to be trying to fit blockchain into every space. Mark came up with the idea of this whole ecosystem that expands across ad tech, esports, NFTs now, and we're sort of really trying to become the experts in fraud management and eliminating fraud that exists. And so that's sort of how this ecosystem has grown. And I'll let Justin get into the weeds of how we fit into each one, but essentially we're trying to bring legitimacy to a space that doesn't necessarily have it. Everyone thinks, outside of the major community, when they hear crypto or blockchain, the first thing they think is like, oh my God, scammers and drug dealers and everything else, right? So realistically, we do need to bring that legitimacy for mass adoption. And that's what we're trying to do by bringing that level of fraud prevention across all industries, including blockchain.
And if you ask at some communities, like shout out to the Monero community over there, that they even use the drug dealers and the scammers as selling points. So yeah, you're damn right. Like I get surprised when I talk to blockchain people, name of the podcast, that some people are not too aware of the fact that the average guy isn't walking down the street thinking about crypto like we are. So yeah. After having said that, Justin, can you introduce yourself, man?
My name is Justin Wenczka, and I'm the Chief Revenue Officer at Veracity. My background is exclusively within digital advertising, and I also happen to be a big esports fan, which is a big tick in the box for me for Veracity. I think what really drew me to Veracity to start off with is the patents and the proof of view patent, and the ability to take advertising signals and then store that on the blockchain. My focus or my speciality within advertising is advertising fraud. I founded an ad verification company, which basically means if you're it identifies detrimental ad content that was going on to publishers. And what we tackle at Veracity now is fraudulent users or fraudulent traffic, and that's what the proof of view technology is centered around. So I came on board to help flesh out the patent and get the technology synced on that side of things. And now we've expanded massively what we're looking to do in terms of our scope. So we're actually looking to build an end-to-end advertising solution that's built around security, because advertising fraud is like one of the biggest problems in the advertising industry. And to give you sort of a bit of a handle on it, we're talking about like the numbers vary, but everybody agrees it's around about $100 billion problem with ad fraud, where people aren't seeing ads, and generally there aren't systems in place to be able to identify them. And that's where the proof of view technology comes into it. It's an advanced system for identifying and kicking out fraudulent technology. And we can go into that into a bit more detail later on. But as soon as I saw that there was a patent on the technology, which I thought was genuinely impossible before I saw the patent. As soon as I saw the patent, I was like, this is an exceptional game changer within the advertising industry. Historically, blockchain technology has been adopted really poorly within ad tech, and the simplicity and the elegance of what Verasity is looking to do is just an absolute game changer within the advertising industry.
I was just quickly checking to see if I could put like a comparative number to what the 100 billion looks like. That's the size of the market caps of Cardano and Ripple put together. So yeah, you would say pretty damn big.
So the advertising industry is like, I mean, it all sort of went interstellar when the iPhone came out and smartphones became widely adopted, and now we're at sort of like $370 billion or something like that goes through the advertising, digital advertising, and that all of that technology was built and scaled within the course of like, I don't know, like 16, 17 years or something like that. Please don't quote me on that. I will read the comments to get the exact number. But in terms of that rise, like all of this technology scaled up effectively overnight, like the whole industry like scaled up overnight. So there are insanely large amounts of sort of security flaws and breaches and everything like that fraudsters are using to defraud advertisers, and there's just a whole load of issues going through it. So yeah, to solve this problem is unbelievable. I mean, there are companies who have tried to solve this in the past, and arguably they are successful in the areas in which they're fighting fraud. But the area in which we're specifically in, video fraud, is unbelievably large. I mean, video advertising accounts for 45% of all digital ad spend, but it accounts for 60% of the fraud within the space. So it is the new Wild West, and we're the new sheriff in town, I suppose, in that analogy.
Video advertising fraud. If I can hold you there for like a second, how does for the person that's not too acquainted with fraudulent advertising, how does it look like? How does the process of like committing this kind of fraud look like?
Yeah, okay. Well, take a trip with me into international waters or your preferred tax haven.
Okay.
And what you do is
I'm a big fan of Belize, so
let's all go there. Let's get the green screens going and let's all head out there. So so basically you set up a fictional website. You could probably people used to sort of like spoof very large websites and so on, and then you would basically artificially inflate the traffic that goes through it. So you would have bots that would go through and sort of reload the page over and over and over and over and over again. So you have like millions of impressions that are now going to this fake site, so millions of views that are going through. You would then sign up to an advertising network, and that just goes straight into your your Belize bank account, and then you would just get a supply of advertising content that goes through. So the companies that supply those ads, the supply side platforms, they would do like a review of the site, but it wouldn't necessarily be like anything too in depth. And you could also switch out your fraudulent site for a legitimate site when they do the review, and then do the old switcheroo when you're looking to do it. And then they start supplying ads in. Coca-Cola are like, this is amazing, we're getting like through our budget brilliantly. You might even have bots that go through and click on the content. You're like, oh wow, we're getting amazing engagement rates, we're getting amazing exposure here, and it's all just totally false. I mean, that's that's one more practical example. There are very advanced systems in place where the legitimate publishers are having ads stuffed into the multiple ads stuffed into like one viewing. There's an incredibly large amount of issues there. And what we tackle with the proof of view is the invalid traffic. So basically those bots, we can identify if there are bots going through, and we can just say, right, okay, well, this wasn't legitimate, and we just don't count those towards any type of advertising that people are doing. And then because we've got it synced up to open ledger technology, that then is immutable data. So yeah, it's a very elegant solution to what is an exceptionally dirty industry.
I know that you're more focused on the patent stuff, Justin, but I want to put Maryam under the spotlight here for a second, because I know that you come from a couple of companies, a couple of projects, Cardano and Consensus, that are both very heavily into open source, and that really hold these values of how crypto should be open source and this. And on Verasity side, you have a lot of focus on the patents. So would you like to speak a little bit to those differences and how do they play out in the blockchain ecosystem? I know a lot of people are very anti crypto projects having patents. And personally, I understand that the money has to come from somewhere, and that technology has to develop somewhere, and that private initiative has it's good for a reason, right? I don't have to explain the whole capitalist system. I'll leave it to
you. Sure. I mean, if you look at Consensus, yes, they're built on Ethereum, and they have their Hyperledger based platform that is open source, and anybody can get onto it. You still have to pay if you want to get onto Quorum. There's still privacy and permissioning on the blockchain. Realistically, for a blockchain to be used across enterprise, we have to give into some capitalistic or enterprise ideals ultimately. And while our proof of view technology, because it's purely focused on the business users and commercial state, let that be patented. And I'm somewhat of an anarchist myself in a lot of ways, and so I do adopt a lot of that crypto ideals. And then we have our esports side, where fans of esports can log in and they can watch and earn points, and they can convert those points to crypto. So for the commercial user, we're very much still about let's use the blockchain and let's use crypto for that enablement and growth for everyday population. Mm-hmm. If I'm some 18, 19-year-old kid in Malaysia or, wherever in the world, but a lot of our games are sort of geared towards Southeast Asia, but I'm already sitting there watching, some tournament. If I can earn a bit of coin doing that, and that coin can be worth something, 6 months, a year, 5 years down the line, then why not? Or if I can get some cool gift cards doing it, for the next tournament, then why not? How's that not helping society?
Yeah, that was a huge draw for me as well, like in terms of, the way that we're approaching esports and the value exchange that we have for users, because I've got a very big gaming problem. Like I game a lot, as in a lot, and the ability for you to be able to engage with the content that I watch every day pretty relentlessly, and to be able to earn while I'm watching content is just an amazing value exchange, because without viewers you don't get impressions. Without impressions, you don't get any advertising, and so I think it's exceptionally a good way to reward your users for engaging with your content.
This is something that I really like about Verasity. I happen to be really interested in decentralized social media. I just wrote an article about it, about the importance of policing decentralized social media. Because if you think about it, I think that this is a personal opinion anyways, I think that every time that someone has tried to create a decentralized social media platform, the problem has been that the platforms get over involved. So they're trying to raise their own role in the process as much as they can, whereas I think it should be governance, then making sure that every user is actually real, which is what Verasity is very much focused on, and then focusing on distributing the rewards from advertising directly into users, right? Which can be like, the whole point of putting this on the blockchain would be to like surpass that intermediary. So then we get to the problem where, okay, there are a lot of people committing frauds. There are a lot of incentives to commit fraud. So how do you go about proof of view? How do you go about making sure that people are actually viewing things?
Yeah, I mean, the foundation of that, and as you say, like having an elegant solution is all down to the product team. And personally, I feel like the product team that we have currently, one of the best product teams that I've ever worked with, as in levels above teams that I've worked with previously. And it's all about, making sure that you're not disrupting the flow of users, that everything feels organic, and it's you're not really getting in people's way. So the way that we do it is that when you're viewing a video on EsportsFightClub, which is our owned and operated esports platform. You start watching the video, you have a little pop up that reminds you, by the way, you could be earning money and you could be earning points for watching this, at which point everyone logs in, and then you sync it. It syncs up to your personal account, and by that way, you have like a small step for a user to validate that they are a correct user, and then they're a way to accumulate currency and everything like that. The way that we identify fraud, because obviously you could just write a bot that goes, oh yes, I'm going to log in and then go through and view loads of content. The way that we do it is we're actually partnering with the best IVT vendors within the market. I can't necessarily go into names just yet, and then we have a proprietary back-end technology that effectively balances out all of the best technology within the market. And then we also have an additional layer of proprietary invalid traffic identification technology that we went through. Pretty sure I said IVT there. It's not gibberish. It's just an industry term. I do apologize about using industry terms. It actually irritates me as well. So I profusely apologize.
So in practice, if I'm trying to commit fraud, how does it actually look like? I know how it looks like because I haven't tried to commit fraud, but I was looking at your YouTube screen, how it looks like. Well, the YouTube integration with the little trophy that comes up on the video, and then you click it, you register your account. It's a fairly seamless process. I think the user experience is pretty friendly. But if I'm on the negative side, if I'm trying to commit fraud here, how does it look like for me?
Well, at the risk of being beaten to death by our internal team and telling you exactly how people can can commit these type of things, there's multiple. Yeah. I mean, there's multiple different ways in which people try to defraud a system in all ways. Do you know what I mean? And what you've got to remember is that once you're writing bots and stuff like that, you can check for vulnerabilities in almost infinite amount of ways, right? But in terms of identifying new ways in which people are defrauding the system and everything like that, as I say, it really comes down to operations and product teams and so on to identify sort of odd looking behavior. And if somebody's got I can't actually. Yeah, I was just about to go into a way to like do it, but I know that we've closed these security gaps. But what I don't want to do is basically, increase the population of bullies exponentially. So yeah, we have a dedicated team of operations specialists and product who focus on this on a daily basis to shut down every single avenue that goes through.
And as of right now, we have over 200 touch points for validation, and that's built on AI. So we're also constantly expanding as fast as these bot plans, bot strategists and developers. So it's a never-ending game. If you look at any sort of issue in security, we still have viruses, we still have Trojans, coming in, and as fast as the fraudsters work, we have to work equally hard and fast to make sure we're constantly capturing it.
It's a mouse and cat game, isn't it? Because as soon as you develop a technology, someone's gonna try and figure out a way to go around it. I had a good friend of mine trying to develop like a voting system to like earn rewards that you could sell in a game, and it's easier said than done, right? Like policing actually. Well, back to the centralized social media. That's your main incentive, right? Like you get to have a social media platform when you figure out the policing of it. And speaking of the centralized social media, I saw you light up, Maryam, when I mentioned the centralized social media before. So is there anything else that you'd like to add to that? And the role that
no,
Verasity
it's just
can play?
my personal views as well. I think that's where my anarchist heart lies, where I'm very much against most centralized social media and how they police it, or even how they decide what is considered accurate versus not accurate. There's a lot of ways that can be fixed. And, if you look at Cardano, the longest part of their build phase, or the most critical part of their build phase, as Charles always says, is the governance part. It's really figuring out how do we govern and who is that governing body. We've made it easy on our side. We're the governors. We're, like Justin said, we're the sort of sheriffs in town, but we're only doing so for malicious acts and fraud. So that's easy to capture. But in terms of overall governance and management, that is still a big piece of blockchain. I think that needs to be figured out in the real world to work with the technology.
Mm-hmm. And I think a big part of having people in these decentralized systems. So like what you do, if you have EFC, a platform that rewards people for viewing esports, how would you call them? Tournaments? Yeah, tournaments. I'm not big into esports, I have to confess, but like if you're viewing this tournament and you want to give rewards to users, that actually can help grow the esports industry itself, right? So there is a big incentive for advertisers and for the teams themselves to help integrate these technologies. Am I right?
Yeah, I mean, in terms of esports, the industry itself is absolutely massive. I mean, I don't know the exact numbers that they're pulling, but the problem that esports has currently is that the engagement with brands is difficult because you don't really have that many inroads into esports. So there are companies out there that are developing technologies so that you can advertise in-game environments. I was previously at one of those companies, and you also have people sponsoring tournaments, but you have to spend a lot of money on branded activity to sort of like sponsor the Dota PUBG and like all of these massive like Fortnite and everything like that. There's like the Disney crossovers with having the MCU in Fortnite and everything like that. You're talking about like millions and millions and millions of pounds, because you have to do like an insanely large amount of development to either get inside a title, to sponsor tournaments, or or whatever you're looking to do. And what we offer to brands in Esports Fight Club is basically a way for them to be able to engage with esports fanatics at almost like a grassroots level, where you're engaging with that audience as they engage with the content. And that's why we've put sponsorships in place with some of the largest tournaments that are available in esports. So we've got things like Valorant and PUBG and everything like that. I appreciate these terms are gibberish to you, but it's huge, like absolutely huge. And so what we offer brands is a safe environment in which they can engage with their audience, and they don't have to spend millions upon millions and millions. If they want to, put my email in the comments, and anyone wanting to get into those sort of figures with the advertising content, please feel free to reach out.
As a marketer, that's actually really interesting because it offers accessibility to a lot of brands. Being one, I've had huge budgets where I literally could spend on anything and everything I could ever dream of. And then I've had ones where they were like, we have no money, go figure it out. So essentially most startups are, until we get that VC cash, go figure it out. So having that accessibility and having the opportunity to engage with content that normally would only be for the Disneys of the world is really exciting as a marketer. That opens up so much potential for content. And then knowing that your budget's not going all to waste. I'd be far more open to spending my budget on creating really cool production, knowing that it's actually going to be viewed, and that I don't have to spend $100,000 on advertising. I can spend $40,000 and get that the equal number of views and interactions that are legitimate. And then I've got $60,000 more that I could spend elsewhere or on more advertising or creating better production value. So imagine the type of content that we get as viewers as well. If, Disney, BMW, all these big brands, let alone the smaller ones, could spend on production. We've seen so many cool ads. The Super Bowl ads could be even better, for instance, but also accessibility. Me as a mom and pop shop, I've got my store down the street. I want to be able to advertise. I can do so and access the same people as Disney would or BMW would, but with my own budget.
And there are two levels of there are two things I think on the skeptic's mind, and one of them is, how do you avoid first of all, people just watching things that pay them and therefore making the whales bigger, and how do you avoid people having 15 monitors playing 15 different things?
That's all identification. I mean, identifying that somebody's got like multiple monitors or multiple tabs and everything like that. That's a pretty basic way to identify and everything like that. And people just watching things arbitrarily to make money. There's nothing wrong with that. I don't see any problem with that at all. Do you know what I mean? I think about, how many Sundays would you say that you've spent hours and hours just watching things you're just like, I don't know what's going on. Do you know what I mean? Like it's, engaging with the content and everything like that. You can't really, qualify how much attention people are giving and stuff like that. I mean, there are companies out there. There are like technology companies that focus on doing identification and everything like that. But I mean, it's kind of Orwellian if we would say, yes, we are going to hijack people's cameras and make sure that they're watching. Do you know what I mean? Like it's, I don't think anyone wants that. Like, and that's definitely not something that we're we're intending to do in any way, shape, or form. But I mean, I with Esports Fight Club, I genuinely have no idea like why anybody would watch esports on something else. Do you know what I mean? Because you're just, effectively, if you're watching esports on any other platform aside from Esports Fight Club, you're literally wasting your time and your money. So like, it's a fantastic thing that we're doing with Esports Fight Club. But as I say, I mean, we're building out an entire end-to-end advertising solution. So the goal is to take, what we're doing with EsportsFightClub and put that across, all of, the whole industry. Really, we want to, start onboarding publishers next year and sort of really grow that network. And now another advantage that we actually have with the everything being published to open ledger and being held and accessible, is that once an advert is served and then we've qualified that it's a user and that we've qualified that that impression's been served and everything like that, and it's stored, I mean, it's immutable data, so that data point can be actioned immediately if you wanted to. Now, one of the problems that we've got in the advertising industry is that there are it's almost an entire middleman procession. Do you know what I mean? It would be, if you imagine the trip from your desk to your door, it would be full of people that you would have to pass by to get to the to get to your endpoint. And the payment terms that are in place through all of these middlemen mean that it can be like 3 months, half a year or so before publishers are actually paid for the advertising that's going out to their users. So having a central point of truth for delivery of this ad content basically means that you can rapidly improve the payment terms on that you're giving to the people who have actually been supplying the content, and that is a huge thing for the publishing market. And when I've been talking to people about what we're looking to achieve in terms of our payment terms, I can't go into too many details currently, but it's an absolute game changer. I mean, people, my friend basically, friends of mine were basically saying that that people will be throwing themselves at us because of the payment terms that we're going to be offering. But I think the core element in everything that we do is basically a fair value exchange for everybody who's involved in this process. So the publishers get a fair share, the advertisers get a safe environment and a fair share. And as you said before, the users are rewarded for the content that they're engaging with, and we mainly keep out of their way, do you know what I mean, through exceptional product work.
Just to circle back on that, if you think about it, YouTube is a reward system as well. You have to watch your advertising to be rewarded with the content you watch. Mm-hmm. That content you watch is not free. You have to sit there and watch the advertising. So we're actually rewarding you while you're doing what you need to do to see the content.
We'll come back after a quick ad from our sponsors. No, we don't have that one anymore, thank God. Okay, so look, I'm a marketer as well. So I've been through everything you just described, except for the part of having unlimited budget. I've never been in those shoes. My marketing experience aside, my podcast experience is that when we had the ad from the sponsor before, it would not. I would have definitely preferred that they would given us the payment and us being able to distribute to viewers directly as a way to grow the podcast. I think that would have been even better for the podcast rather than us receiving a payment that we then had to figure out what to do with it. So in that regard, I really see Verasity coming up with a brilliant solution here. And I think from a macro level, having the EFC as a platform that is its own use case and that showcases the product itself, it's just brilliant, because I want to see these things happen, and as an anarchist myself as well, if we can take out Facebook and we can take out Twitter and all these intermediaries and do platforms that directly reward the people, that can also be great for the guy that isn't as big. So if you're a YouTuber, for example, on YouTube, you have to get 1,000 subscribers on your channel and 4,000 hours of view time in order to start monetizing. And that means if you're putting out videos that are 2 seconds long, you're going to have a hard ass time monetizing your channel. And same if your content is super niche. So if I want to do videos for goth middle-aged women that are very much into web cameras, I don't know, whatever, but that's super specific, they also have a hard time monetizing their content because there's not as many people that want to watch it by its nature, but it's actually really useful for the very few that want to. So if there is a way to surpass that and give the rewards onto themselves, that would also be great. I'm all up for solutions like this. I would want to ask you how far or how close do you see these things coming into reality for us content creators?
Yeah, I mean, that was very specific example.
Can we see your browser history?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I won't deny, I won't confirm.
Yeah, no, yeah, we could look to implement it, but we definitely would need to look at your browser history beforehand. Yeah, so I mean, a fair value exchange is it's on the horizon. I mean, we've already built it, so like we're just we are polishing the technology and looking at mass market adoption next year. So it's a very the problem that YouTube has. So in the example that you gave about, you having to reach like a set amount of activity before, you start to monetize. It's a pretty good solution because, they have to police like so much content that's going through and so much video content. Their concern is that the content that you're putting out may well be offensive, so the video content and everything like that, and it may be not able to be monetized for various reasons and so on. And what it sounds like is by putting that barrier in place, first of all, you validate that somebody actually has like a decent amount of content, but then again, you could just create a bot to be pumping out like copyright infringing content until you hit that certain cap. But that problem that they have of like validating the videos and validating the user and so on can actually be solved by technology, by using advanced video analysis technology, and also by identifying and also by reviewing the engagement of the user and making sure that all of the parameters are in place. I think Maryam was saying earlier, there are like hundreds and hundreds of signals that your devices will give that you can use to then validate or disqualify, like invalidate, whether somebody's a human and whether somebody's doing something in the correct way. And as I say, I mean, to be able to identify, even if you put up, like maybe a couple of videos or anything like that, there's no reason why you wouldn't be able to monetize that content straight away. The problem is that it's exceptionally expensive because you have to go through and, the video validation software and everything like that is quite costly to go through, because effectively what you'd be doing, one of the more elegant ways of doing it is basically chopping up the video and then doing image analysis to make sure that the that the content's valid and so on. And it would just probably cost them more money than it would make them through the advertising content. So that's why they do it, because it's cost prohibitive. And I suppose the technology may or may not be there, but I do know from experience from the ad verification that I was talking about beforehand, it can be super costly to do unless you build like a very streamlined and very elegant solution.
And speaking about streamlined and elegant solutions, wouldn't that be sort of like the ideal thing to plug into something like Kleros? Which is like a decentralized dispute resolution system. If you're, by your look, I see, by the look on your face, I see that you're not too aware of Kleros, are you?
No,
I am way out of I'm way in the deep end here. I don't know what you're referring to.
Okay,
I do
so
apologize.
if you want to see an episode of me embarrassing myself, go look at my interview with Claros' founder, because I asked really bad questions on that one. I didn't thoroughly prepare for that one, but it's this movement called decentralized justice, where you sort of have like arbitrators randomly selected from, they call them jurors, from a pool of stakers. It's a super interesting project, Claros with a K. I would really advise you to look into that, because what they do is basically that, creating a decentralized system where humans can do the work that machines can't, and that's pretty much ideal for these solutions. Although I would say that their main impediment right now is transaction fees, right? Just as what we're dealing with, and that's perfect for me to prompt to the next question for you guys. How do you solve that problem, scalability? Because I reckon that's also pretty big in making these solutions into a mainstream thing, right?
Yeah, so we actually have considered the issue of transaction fees, and the data batches that are managed on the blockchain. I'm not sure how our CTO did it, but it was basically explained to me that the transaction fees are pretty much nominal or non-existent, even at current, transaction rates. So we've managed to figure out how to batch the data essentially in a way where we're not impacted by the transaction fees, and so therefore we can scale quite effectively and easily.
Yeah, I mean, it comes down to having two really good teams in terms of development and finance, actually. Like, so you work out, make sure that your unit economics back out, and anything that you're going to get charged for, you make sure that, it's compensated in what you're doing. And like a big part of that is the efficiency by which you're doing things. So you basically want to make sure that you are very confident that an outcome is going to generate revenue before you then put it through to something which is actually going to cost you. So basically, it's almost having like loads of filtration systems that go through, so that you're only drinking like pure water. So like you've got this pond of like dirty data that's coming into your system, and then you've got pure drinking water which is going through to the chain.
I'm gonna pull out your roadmap, guys, because that was really something. I really would like to talk about the rationality before I'm translating from Spanish in my mind. About the rationality on the order of the steps here, because I see that. Okay, first of all, you go way back. Like you've been around since 2017, which in blockchain years, that's like an eternity, more or less. I would really, yeah. Well, but first of all, is it all right to consider the roadmap on the website? Are we okay? Can we talk about that, or is there some? Yeah, is there something to know before diving into that?
No, we can talk about it.
Okay, perfect. So if you don't mind, I'm going to share my screen for that. I don't usually share screen especially not after talking about my navigation history with guests. But let us go on that one, because, well, first of all, let's sit here at quarter three.
Sorry, I'm having a bit of trouble seeing. Can you just click on your browser history? I think it needs to do a bit of a refresh. I think it will really help the picture clarity.
I think you would come up quite clean, actually, but we're not taking the chance here. So, EsportsFightClub. You guys also, as I mentioned, I think it's brilliant to, on a macro level, play to do that, but is there anything coming from other industries? Is there anything coming from other type of content? I'm thinking traditional sports, but maybe I get a surprise here.
So EsportsFightClub was originally our proof of concept for proof of view, and we started building it out. But we, as the proof of concept started growing organically, and we saw, well, first of all, there is a huge overlap of the audience type in esports versus crypto.
Right.
The esports community is like, I think 500 million or so right now. The crypto community is around 100 million. So one, there's opportunity there. Two, they're all pretty much male between the ages of 18 and 45. They're all digital natives for the most part, or very digitally savvy. And so there was the right fit there. But since then, we've also expanded proof of view to NFT fraud. So right now, NFTs are becoming so mainstream. You're seeing it everywhere. Like literally every TV show I watch or YouTube channel I watch has mentioned NFTs at some point. I've seen it on like Bloomberg as well, and MSNBC try and explain it. So they're becoming in the mainstream, but they're also dealing with a lot of fraud that's coming up. Recently, there was somebody who paid like $330,000 or so for what they thought was a Banksy NFT, and it just turned out to be completely fake. So, we're expanding proof of view and going to be offering that solution where you have to verify you are who you say you are. So me as Maryam, I can't be like, oh, I'm Banksy, let me make a cool 330,000 on this fake NFT, or I'm not going to go scan an image of, a photo of his work that I took and pretend that it's my NFT to promote and sell. So that identification management will become really important there. You'll see it in, coming from health technology. I can see the application in terms of a lot of issues with payment management systems for health technology, and identifying, is this person the right person that it should be going to? You've got how many hundreds of thousands of Paul Smiths in America. Mm-hmm. So how do you manage for that, and how do you ensure identification of it? And it's not me as a fraudster trying to steal money from Medicare or Medicaid or Red Cross or Blue Cross, pretending that I've had a service that I hadn't, pretending to be someone who I'm not. So there's so many applications that it could expand to. We're just starting here at esports.
Why do you think we don't have already solved the sovereign identity on the blockchain thing, since it seems to be such a common theme within the industry?
Well, blockchain is still so new. It's barely been around for 10 years. We've had email since and the internet since before any of us were born. So essentially, it's a catch-up game. NFTs have been out for like 2-3 years in the mainstream, 2 years, I would say. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And people are still not talking about the fraud that's happening on a normal conversation. They're still talking about, what the hell is an NFT? Right. That's... Why did this NFT go for $60 million? Like, it's still very much sensationalized. We're not talking about it at the practical level, and that just comes through mass adoption and through time and usage.
And I swear I'm going to get to the roadmap, but another question, because this is something that you touched on, and this is something that I've been trying to puzzle in. Crypto users are very definitely very much male between the ages of 18 and 45. I completely agree with you. How do you think the industry can get women more involved? I know that the way to do that is not by having a panel, having 5 women in your conference and putting them all in the same panel. I hate when they do that. But like, how do you get them to get more excited about this technology, or create use cases that are more exciting for women to join?
Justin, do you want to address that? Or should I take that one?
Yes.
Justin and I will talk about it.
I feel like that's what we refer to as a hospital pass, like in my neck of the woods.
Well, as the resident expert on all things women,
I mean, in terms of gaming and so on, the gaming demographic is majoritively women. Like, I mean, like in terms of esports, it shares the demographic with crypto. But in like general gaming, the vast majority of gaming is like middle-aged women. That's like the core element. If you look at mobile gaming and casual gaming and everything like that, like Candy Crush and all this sort of stuff, like the demographic data is like all women. Or I mean, like obviously there are all types of gamers and everything like that. But yeah, gaming's like super inclusive. So with esports as a touching point, that's a good entry into it. But yeah, mainstream gaming is casual gaming is absolutely huge.
I did not know that. That's interesting. There we go. You are the resident expert on women in tech right now.
Apparently so, yeah.
I think, on the crypto side of things, it all comes down to comfort and understanding. So it's a matter of, getting onto content that women are more so on, or predominantly women are on, and speaking to it comfortably and making it easy to digest. My mom now buys and sells crypto, which is awesome because I think she only learned how to text like 6 months ago. So it all just comes down to awareness, understanding, and that's one of the things that actually drew me to blockchain and getting into the industry was, how do we get out of speaking in technical terms and jargon, and how do we start talking about it in practical means and ways that people really understand? Whenever I hear someone say, "Oh, so blockchain is Bitcoin," I'm like, well, Bitcoin is, a type of blockchain. And then, I sometimes find myself running down the path of, okay, well, you've got hashes and you've got hard forks and you've got this, and there's this platform, and people like, I can see their eyes just kind of like shift and go into circles. Or they're, just completely ignoring me and their heads turned completely away by that. But when I start speaking about, okay, well, you've got, currency, you've got your dollar, crypto is essentially the same, except you're never going to hold it in your hand. You're going to have it on your phone. You're going to have it on your laptop. Blockchain, how different is it from building an application for your Mac, for your Windows, for your iPhone, for your Google Play? Same thing. You're building an application. Now, how that data is stored and managed, the average person does not give a shit. Like, who cares?
Well,
Let's talk about
just like I was playing this little game that I play when I'm bored and I don't know how it runs. I don't know how people store it in a website. I don't know anything about that.
Exactly. How many of us can sit there and explain how the internet actually works and how we're, how the data is passed through and so on and so forth. Like, we can't speak to that effectively on a day-to-day level. So why do we have to do that with blockchain? We don't. What we need to do is highlight, what can blockchain offer? What can crypto offer that, current technology, that current systems can't? Most people playing esports are digital natives, yet we're expecting them to use fiat, which is essentially not. Exactly. So, why aren't we talking about the actual solutions that we can bring out to the world?
Guys, there's a lot of here on the roadmap about the Vera Wallet. You'll never know what we just get. There's a lot about the Vera Wallet, and I know that that's one of the main innovations by Verasity. So would you like to speak a bit to it?
Sure. So Vera Wallet, we built out, again, being in fraud management, being in security, to be the most secure wallet available. We've made it a cold storage wallet. to keep, basically all fraud away, potential fraud away. And we actually guarantee our wallet. So if anyone loses their Vera to any malicious acts, on Vera Wallet, if any hacks or anything like that, we would refund it to them. And we've yet have had a case, in the few years that we have existed. We also offer 25.5% staking, except in America, unfortunately, due to SEC rules. But, it's a huge opportunity for folks who want to get into crypto, but are still skeptical in terms of what they may lose. But also people who are already in crypto. I mean, 25% staking is huge in the staking world. And then you compare it to what your bank gives you, which is less than 1%. And it's definitely a great opportunity for everyone.
And I like to put an emphasis on the part of guaranteeing the wallet, or like protecting you from yourself, because I recently lost a seed phrase from a wallet that I don't use as much. I had like 1 Tesos on it. It was like a total $5 loss, but it still hurts and it still sucks, and it's still a process where I think crypto needs to forget a bit of its earliest values in order to become more user-friendly, get wider adoption. It's just how does it look like for the user that needs to recover the wallet if they're in this situation with Vera?
So we do have KYC, and it's very limited. You don't have to, we're not like a major exchange where you have to upload photo identification. I think for like crypto.com, I had to like hold a sign and my passport, and give a blood test basically to say this is me, so I could exchange. With Verasity, we just ask your basic information, but if you do lose that information, you have to show identification that is one with what you signed up for us to be able to help you with your wallet and getting your code back. While it's limited KYC, it's critical to be authentic. Or else you're going to risk, like you said, you lose the 16 points and you're fucked basically. Or I remember some dude was out in like Bali or something like that, and he died, and he had like a few million worth of Bitcoin, but nobody had the keys, so his family lost a lot of money.
And you also take other currencies, which is, I mean, pretty interesting as well, if you want to sort of keep everything in a place where you can get it back, right? Would you advise that people use Vera as their main wallet?
Most definitely. I mean, to be able to get the staking, you have to be on Vera Wallet. We have over 180,000 users on Vera Wallet, and just to compare across exchanges, we have about 10,000. So, the majority of our users are using Vera Wallet. We just started allowing for fiat conversions as well. So you can go directly on Vera Wallet and purchase your Vera with fiat. Otherwise, you have to exchange using Binance, Ethereum, Bitcoin, and I believe USDT is also another option. But we've got a few options where you can exchange through. Unfortunately, the fees do suck when you do get into that space, but we more than make up for it with that 25.5% staking. So I think it's definitely worth the investment to get on the wallet. And again, the security features, you can't beat that, and you can't have that with centralized exchanges. You'll never get that level of security.
Okay, and I've been moderating communities for a while now, and I know that the guys watching are looking for something. They're looking for the next big announcement, or they're waiting for you to let out some kind of information that's exclusive to this. So if you I mean, would you like to throw them some candy? Would you like to talk about something that the community is excited about right now? That's on the roadmap, or maybe not?
We do have some exchange announcements, some big ones coming up. One is a tier one that's really exciting to me specifically because I'm already on there. But we can't share them yet. We will have some new websites coming up for both EsportsFightClub and for Verasity over the next month. So that'll be really nice for our users. It'll be a far better user experience and flow. We're constantly trying to improve that. That hasn't been our primary focus because we've been very much about security for the most part. But moving forward, as we try and get into that mass adoption stage, we are all about making sure that user experience is very much our, I'd say, secondary, if not, equal focus for us.
Mm-hmm. And on the NFTs front, what can you tell us?
So we're building out that solution. Proof of View is going to be going live in Q4 on the ad tech side of things, and we're now building the NFT side. We can't give a specific date as to when that'll be live, but it is on our future roadmap. It will be in 2022.
Do you feel any sort of pressure? This is like my go-to question lately. Do you feel any sort of pressure to integrate NFTs into things as much as possible? Because, I mean, you cannot ignore the fact, if you're in this industry, that you sometimes have to try and catch the trends in order to move forward, right? That's just like everywhere else. So, I mean, is there any pressure to integrate them?
Not really. I mean, everybody and their uncle seems to be putting out NFTs, and it's becoming very, very popular. But I think that sensationalization is actually really dangerous and trying to chase that big trend. One, you're going to lose a lot of money trying to build and catch up and make some noise in already very noisy area. So that wasn't our intent with the NFT side of things. It's essentially, in EsportsFightClub, we're going to be offering out of game NFTs. We're going to be building that out, and we want to make sure that we're managing fraud on our side of things, and we're giving that proper experience, for EsportsFightClub users and anyone who's going to be looking into NFTs on our marketplace. So why not make that available to all blockchain users? And we saw this as a huge gap just in the industry. You're only hearing about what, the average person who is even in the crypto space couldn't tell you all the types of NFT fraud that exist. The general assumption is that, it's on the blockchain, so obviously everything is going to be accurate. The data is immutable, it's transparent, it's got all these benefits. But that doesn't mean that fraud doesn't exist. And NFT fraud is going to become a bigger conversation. And so we want to make sure to bring that legitimacy to not just the NFT space, but to the blockchain and crypto space, that we're addressing those points earlier on. And we're not just in the sensationalization conversations, but in the actual solutions conversations.
Yeah, I think it's, I definitely agree. I mean, in terms of, getting products into market and everything like that, everyone wants to be Google. Nobody wants to be Lycos or Ask Jeeves. Do you know what I mean? Like, you can go out into the market and you can cobble together what you believe that users need. But you really want to be making sure that, it syncs with the market. And while we have the groundbreaking patent for NFTs and various technologies, we've got to make sure that we're super diligent in the way that we're rolling out products. And as I said before, our product team is sensational, but what you've highlighted here in the roadmap is just like our development team are on another level. Like, I mean, it's our CTO is exceptional. Like, the amount of work that him and his team get through, and the volume and quality is just absolutely outstanding. I think he's sort of, some sort of shark coder hybrid, where if he stops coding, he might die, because he's just constantly, him and his team are just pumping out some of the most sensational work I've.
And would you, I mean, we talked about the type of NFT fraud where I go and NFT that picture behind me that I definitely didn't make. But what other types of fraud are there for NFTs?
I was reading an article the other day about like how there's 5 or 6. I'm still not quite familiar with every type. You can also try and pretend you're reselling something that's authentic, that's not. And there's so many more. If you look at just like luxury bags, for instance, there's so many ways you can actually replicate a Louis Vuitton bag or a Chanel bag. You can go from creating the whole thing yourself, from scratch, to now there's people that will go buy a huge duffel bag from LV and then cut that up and turn that into wallets. And you have grading systems of the quality of fakes you have. So the ability to create fraud is always out there, and it's just dependent on ingenuity, essentially. The NFT fraud that we're specifically looking at is making sure you are who you say you are, and you're minting what you say you're minting, or you're reselling, what you say you're selling.
And like you say, a lot of this fraud comes from the dangerous trend or the dangerous overhyping of NFTs in general, when everyone's buying as much as they can right now. And what they're effectively also going to find is that this hasn't been as much an investment as I think, because let's be honest, there are platforms that offer you collateral for an NFT. I think we're going to see a lot of them blow up in the not too distant future, because there's no way you can guarantee someone's going to want to rebuy a picture of a dog that a dog would be a nice one, a rock that was sold for a couple of ethers. That's just that's just something that we're gonna see good things come out of and bad things come out of by necessity.
That's sensationalization, exactly. And that's actually the part of the crypto blockchain community that I really hate, because people who aren't in it just see like, oh, this image of, some of the shit I've seen, like, it's just foul and disgusting, but some vile image sold for how many thousands of dollars, when I can literally just copy it and have it on my computer, or, Jack Dorsey's first tweet, or this meme, and so on. So that sensationalization is not good for anyone, really. I guess it's good for some awareness, but we also need to talk about the application of it. If you think about me as a struggling artist, and I'm on Spotify barely making a penny per song, but I put it out as an NFT, and every time my music is sold and resold, I'm getting what I feel is the value that I deserve for my work. Well, that completely changes the game for artists. And, that's what we need to be bringing out to the rest of the world, not look, this image went for 69 million, but this is what we can do with NFTs. This is the opportunity that the everyday person has, leveraging a decentralized ecosystem.
Did you ever listen to a band called the Wallflowers? They had like one song.
I remember them. That one Spotlight. It's what's his name's son.
Headlight.
Yeah. So, the lead singer is like somebody's son. He's like some super famous.
Bob Dylan's son. He's Jacob Dylan.
There we go.
He recently went. They're not too famous, so this didn't get too much attention. But like, he recently went on Joe Rogan's podcast, and he was just talking about how Netflix completely helped the the video industry and the film industry dodge or not go the same route the music industry went. Because if you see how digital music and digital film work, they just went completely different directions, and one went in a really fucked, really bad direction for artists, and the other one managed to sort of like protect up to some level the status quo, and that is where I think NFT music can really resurface the industry for artists, because he would talk about how back in the day you would at least be able to like sell CDs out of the back of your car to be able to survive, and now you cannot even do that, because who buys a CD? Like digital music completely killed it, and either put the revenue models on the hands of one person. I really think as well that Verasity can play some part in helping the music industry come back to the hands of the artists.
Well, exactly. And, that's where it would be ripe for scamming as well. And, me pretending to be the Wallflowers or me pretending to be Taylor Swift and throwing out music and saying, buy my NFT. Well, I'm not Taylor Swift. So let's make sure people, that are trying to use a great technology for nefarious reasons out, so we can deliver that egalitarian system that blockchain is meant to be.
And I think that's a great spot to start closing. I would just like to ask Justin if there's anything else that you'd like to add in regards to how things are moving forward in the world of fighting fraud thanks to blockchain.
Yeah, well, I mean, it really is, an interesting time now that we're bringing sort of blockchain into the ad tech space, and sort of giving more transparency to the entire space, which has been needed for an exceptionally long period of time. I mean, if you sort of Google companies like Procter and Gamble, and the sort of invalid traffic space, and how those companies have boomed in recent years. It really is sort of like a paradigm shift that we're bringing to the advertising industry. And as I say, I mean, it's fantastic to be part of Verasity, and how we're sort of helping the industry overall. And as I say, I mean, it's 100 billion at various sources, $100 billion sort of on average, and we're solving that problem, and it's been received exceptionally well within the market in terms of the people who are most affected by this, the advertisers and the publishers who bring all the value, and obviously the users as well. Being able to reward users for engaging with the content that they already engage with is just absolutely amazing. So yeah, we're bringing transparency and fairness basically to the industry, and it's brilliant, absolutely brilliant.
Maryam, anything to add to that?
No, I think that's a great point. What I really liked was, that transparency and fairness. That's essentially the cornerstone, or like the center of the core of blockchain. So, while we aren't building an open source network for everyone to come build what they want to on there, we are, taking our technology and we're leveraging that technology to deliver that same equality and that same transparency that so many systems are.
And well, if you like to see more transparency in the world, if you like to see better equality on all these networks, please go follow Verasity. Please learn more about what they're doing. Where can they find more about you apart from verasity.io? Verasity with an S.
We have Telegram channels in 17 languages. So
wow.
We're super international. Our international communities are actually huge. We are on Twitter at Verasity Tech. We are on Discord under Verasity. Both EsportsFightClub and Verasity are there. We are on Reddit as Verasity. So anywhere with Verasity with an S, not a C, you can find us basically on all socials.
And well, guys, I'd really like to thank you for this conversation. I had a lot of fun talking to you too. If there's not anything else to add, well, apart from the fact that neither of us are Taylor Swift, we'll close with this. Thank you very much.
Nope. Thank you so much.
Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you very much.
Okay, bye-bye, everyone.